Welcome to the Geekiverse show. My name is Josiah Leroy. With me today, Lauren Leroy, Valona, and Pete. That's right, they just have one name each. So,
like Prince.
the artist formerly known as Pete. So
I'll take it.
All right, very good. We are talking Gotham today. We just reached our midway point for the season, season 2 here.
Might as well stop the heater's on.
So now we're gonna freeze. That was a test.
You have to do that all
Now it's gonna get
Totally just saw that, and I have no idea if that microphone's picking that up, so better just turn it off rather than...
Yeah,
You should've waited.
You should have waited till they were done.
I was like, why is there's this weird sound coming out. Oh, damn. Alright, go ahead. You can start again.
Welcome to the Geekiverse show. My name's Josiah. I have Lauren with me this week, Valona, and Pete. We are talking Gotham. This is a Spoilercast, so be forewarned, if you have not caught up on every Gotham episode that's aired to this date, do not watch this. We're midway through season 2. We're on break all the way up until, I think, February, which kind of sucks, because that's a really long lull.
They're doing that a lot more now, where the kind of mid-season hiatus is huge. You forget what you were watching.
It's brutal. Yeah, I'm going to need to watch this in February to figure out what's going on. So this is almost like a data entry.
Maybe that's why they do it, so you rewatch the whole first half of the season.
Probably true to some
and
point.
Pick up all the advertising. You know, all the ads are still in it when you watch it on demand or whatever. So maybe they're just trying to grab an extra $1 or $2 on advertising.
Well, what's airing now? That's a good question, right? Like, what are they putting in this spot for the next 2 months? But
well, the first part of it's Christmas shows.
That's right.
Right.
January's pretty bare, but
right.
Oh well.
And I would be all for the Joker in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Or Jerome. Yes.
Any of those.
Brings me to my first topic. Jerome as the Joker, or not the Joker, or the person who inspires the Joker. I was super heartbroken when the plot twist came. It was either episode 3 or 4, and Jerome gets killed by Galavan. What the heck? I mean, I've never felt such anger towards a show. I guess I've never been emotionally wrapped up into a show like this either, but my goodness, I did not see that coming. Anyone else here? What were your thoughts?
Completely didn't see it coming.
You don't think that they would kill off a main villain like that. Although they're kind of playing it to the effect that he wasn't the Joker. Instead, he kind of inspired the idea of the Joker, but still.
And when he was laying dead there on the table with the lip marks
Yes.
all over, that was the creepiest shot ever.
A part of me was...
I was waiting for him to pop up.
I was on edge, and I'm waiting for him to blink something, and unfortunately that didn't happen. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, they promoted it. They didn't promote it that Jerome was going to be around all season. If you look at all the promotions, the posters, commercials, early on they do talk about him, but really Theo is heavily shown. His sister, I can never remember her name. Tabitha, that's what it is. She's in the poster as well. And then Barbara,
yeah.
Which obviously she's sticking around, but sticking with Jerome for now. I don't think you could have done a better job of imitating or producing a Joker.
He was perfect.
Cameron Monaghan played him, which he's on another show.
He's in that show on, what is it?
It'll hit me at some point throughout this. But anyway...
I didn't even know he was in another show, but I think he was made to be the Joker, 100%. His
laugh. That's what's disappointing to me.
The first scene when he was in Arkham Asylum in the very first episode that they introduced him, just whoa,
mind blowing.
Yes, mind blowing.
Not even just him, but all his Arkham buddies. You know, they all had a lot of potential, and it was sad when they all were getting killed off really soon by Tabitha and Galavan.
Yeah, I agree.
They had a lot of...
I thought that was the making of the Suicide Squad there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's where they were going with it.
Exactly.
And they didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think that laugh is fantastic. His facial animation is ridiculous. I mean, my goodness. I could talk about him for this entire episode.
Well, and then when Theo says to him, "I love the laugh. Keep it."
Yes.
You know, they were completely setting us up. That's what they were. The producers of that show were completely setting us up to 100% believe he was the Joker. He was going to be around forever. He was going to be great at it. Caught me by surprise.
Well, in the same breath, though, I know this is a different universe, I suppose, but the Joker's origin is never known.
Right.
So like that was something too that before they introduced Jerome, I thought that all of a sudden the Joker was just going to come about.
Mhm.
And then they introduced him and it was like, oh, you kind of know his backstory, and that was kind of annoying. But then I think that he just made the character so amazing that you kind of didn't care that you knew his backstory and where he was from. So, which then led you to think with the whole like Arkham gang, was Barbara turning into Harley Quinn?
That's what I thought, especially when they're in the jail or in Arkham talking together. You thought, is there a love connection building here?
Yeah.
That's definitely a thought.
I totally thought that. And I mean, not necessarily just because she resembles her, but I think that was a theory in my mind, for sure. And last year, or last season, I had written about my thought that Lee might be Harley Quinn, which you can find on the website. But if you just search Gotham at www.thegeekiverse.com, I wrote kind of an in-depth discussion on that. Just there's some similarities. It may not be right at this point, but still, there's that doubt in my mind.
But you still don't know what's going to happen with Barbara.
That's the thing.
That was cliffhanger number 1 at the end of the season. There isn't really a whole lot of cliffhangers. I mean, Theo is done at the end of the season.
Goodness.
I know, I was so sick of Theo. It was like, okay, leave.
Annoying.
Oh my gosh,
He's
like
got
I
that
thought
weird voice that makes you want to punch him in the face.
His
ears. Yeah.
Didn't he look like he looks like a manufactured like Disney villain?
Yes.
Right? Like,
Honestly, though.
The actor played almost the same character in a very short-lived, I think it was an NBC show called The Cape. Which was
I didn't realize he was on that.
Yeah, he played the big bad in that as well.
Oh.
But he had sort of this red leather mask or something, and he was trying to take over the city and privatize the police and privatize the prison system so that he had other bad guys under his control. And that show didn't make it very long, which is too bad because I kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of cool. But I think only made it a season if it made it even the full run of the season. But he played exactly the same character.
So it's deja vu.
Yeah.
I
That's
loved his
amazing.
character though. Like when Theo was first introduced, I thought it was like a really cool spin on the entire thing. And
He's the puppet master.
yeah, and I thought it was like really awesome. But like as it just kept going on and progressing, I was like, can we just kill him already? I was ready for him to be done.
He was not one of those villains that you cheered for. Like the evolution of Nigma going.
I still love
crazy.
him.
Oh,
Like
100%.
Like him and Penguin, I would be like,
Yes.
you go, you do you.
You're
you
cheering
know?
them on. Galvan, you cheered him on at first, and then you're like, you need to go. We don't
Well,
like
and
you.
it's funny
You don't
too.
cross Bruce. You know,
Yeah.
that was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, with Tabitha too, like Tabitha's character, it was like she was just such a witch throughout the entire.
She's still around.
The entire
Yeah.
thing that like you were just like, I don't care if like somebody kills her because she was just so mean. But then the very last episode
There's a
when she was
glimmer of
showing
feeling.
compassion to Silver,
Yeah.
I was like, well, hold on a second. You
She
know,
was
like
studying.
Compassion right up
Yeah.
until she throws her out the window.
yeah, well, but she did it
But she
for her own
saved her.
good.
Right, yeah.
It's throw her out
You know
the
how
window.
to use one of these parachutes, right?
I didn't think she did, and sure enough, they showed him overhead. I'm like, oh, okay, that was quick.
Can I take us back to the Joker for
Yes,
1 second?
please.
Towards the end of his segment where they show him dying and they have this resurgence of all these boys turning into the Joker, I was hoping that would make it into the season some more, and then it kind of just dwindled because there's just so many criminals. You'd think you'd see them every once in a while, but
Yeah.
so I wanted to see that.
Yeah,
come
that
to life.
insanity didn't.
I think that's by design, too. Like, I really think that was planned. Like, spoiler if you haven't played the Batman Arkham games, but in Arkham City, they do kill the Joker. That's the second of the 3 games. And I felt like that was kind of Rocksteady Studios making that game and going, crap, we killed the greatest villain, the reason that people play these games, and then had to find a way to bring him back in Batman's head in Arkham Knight. With this, I feel like this was on purpose. I don't feel like they wrote that in and just said, oh crap, we have to figure out a 180 and live on with the Joker. I think like they really manufactured that story.
No, I'm certain of that. It was way too cleverly done. It was way too much of a surprise. Like, they literally caught every single person watching that show. I mean, I seriously, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I just...
Me too. I
never even
did that.
and then for the rest of the night, I'm like, oh, it was faked, it was this, it was that, because I was 100% sure he was the Joker.
I've never been in denial before, but that was probably the closest time
I
in my
really
life.
wanted his cronies to just pop out and like
Yes.
seen some more, but maybe you never know. Second half.
I was shocked, absolutely shocked. I think, I did a lot of research after that episode. I couldn't go to bed. I looked at every possible angle. I'm like, come on, he's not dead, right? And I looked at a lot of interviews that the producers had done before the show that alluded to his death indirectly. And they said that it's not necessarily that he's the Joker, but that he inspires whoever becomes the Joker to be the Joker.
Yeah.
And that's probably the resurgence we saw.
Yes.
Rising.
And Jerome's dad telling him he's going to be a curse on the town and city, and it's almost like his spirit goes over everyone, and they want to be that. And I think that that's what's a big attraction to the show.
Well,
is
first
that.
of all, one of the things you got to keep in mind, it's comic book TV, and people die all the time in the comic books because there's no rules. So absolutely, they could come up with an excuse to bring him back to life. The very last scene, I think, of the final episode, they drag Theo down into that basement laboratory
where Firefly was,
where
right?
there's tanks full of
Yes.
of all sorts of people. So it's entirely possible that Jerome's in one of those tanks. Even in the Arkham games, I'm not a gamer, so I don't play any of that stuff. But there's no rules. People die all the time. Steve Rogers has died multiple times in the Captain America arcs over the years, and they always manage some way to reanimate him, if you will. And they certainly, because there's no rules in comic book land, which is what makes it awesome and frustrating.
Totally.
There's never any there's never any real consequences to what happens there. So far as that at the end of Age of Ultron, everybody had to say Quicksilver's dead. The producers came out and said he's dead. He's not coming back. He's dead, because there isn't any rules on that kind of stuff.
Exactly. It can be very frustrating, and I think that final scene was pretty awesome too. By the way,
I love the umbrella.
The umbrella does.
Yeah, I love that.
this felt like a season finale as opposed to a mid-season finale, which
Yeah.
is really exciting for what this is going to bring into part two.
Well, it's funny because you had, maybe you said, that there really are no cliffhangers in this. If anything, you're just looking forward
It's
to
Barbara.
what's to come. Not just, Barbara's
Barbara's
like the only
Barbara's the
cliffhanger.
cliffhanger.
But then, like, in the very, last scene, you see, what's his name?
You see Mr. Freeze.
Right.
So, like,
and
you're
Hugo Strange, who's made up
Yes.
from the
Doctor
Arkham games, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool that they made up that character, and
So-
now he's going into a different Batman lore.
it's not so much like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen with this. It's
Set it
more
up.
like, oh, I can't wait to see
Yeah.
how
I'm
they
dying for the
evolve.
next episode, and I have no idea where they're going with it.
Yeah.
No preview, no inkling, no nothing.
And what do you do with Barbara? She's
They're
I
probably
have
just
a
gonna,
theory
they're
on
just
her.
gonna hold her there
She's-
until they need her.
But my point is that at the end of this thing, we are all of the belief that she is Barbara Gordon, right?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I've always assumed that. He marries Barbara Gordon.
Well, not in this universe.
I can't. I don't know where they come back from this one. She is psycho.
She's psycho.
She's-
Look,
Right?
obviously from the start, you figure, oh, okay, but then you're like,
I loved her at first too. And
Yeah.
I'm like, she is Jim's woman.
You know
she-
what?
and then-
I thought she was terrible at the beginning.
She was
She was
terrible
the
at the
really-
beginning.
She was the weakest character on the
100%.
planet. Like,
I had no problem with her
nothing-
in the first,
Yeah.
She
like
was
maybe
weak.
3
No,
episodes.
she was an awful character.
but that
Yeah.
was like her like evolving. You know,
I think-
she started off at this little.
Her being crazy
Whatever.
is what she's good at.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I think her before she started having doubts, having the rift with Jim, going back to her relationship with that cop, where I liked her being kind of like his support group. I was like, that's the Barbara Gordon I want. Maybe in my mind, maybe it's not rational,
Right.
but when she started really pissing me off when she was causing Jim issues. It's like, come on, he's got enough issues as it is.
Leave
Because-
Jim alone.
Yes. Leave Freddie alone. It's like, he doesn't need that at home, too. So, seeing her go crazy was one thought. Maybe she was teased a little bit as Harley Quinn going into it. I will say this, I'm sure maybe you guys have seen this. I think that they may be setting her up or leaving her to be the Joker at some point.
Wow, what a theory.
Yeah, I don't.
That may be way out there, but
That's-
I
I'm
don't
telling
see
you,
that one at all. I don't see
At
that
this
one
point,
at all.
anything is a go, so
Yeah.
could
nothing's off the table, right?
Right. Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So-
I just don't see that one at all.
The going back to the research I did after Jerome died in that episode, they had also mentioned, some of the producers and directors in that interview, that they would absolutely be open to a female Joker.
Interesting.
Maybe.
Open to it doesn't mean that they're leaning that way at all.
Right.
But they had a female Firefly, which I thought was
Exactly.
great.
I loved her.
And some characters don't necessarily cross over. You know, some
Right.
need to be either female or male, whatever they are. But she was great. I thought it was a good character that they could have some
but
leeway with.
At the end of the day, and take this for what it's worth, and you guys have known me for a long time, that I am certainly not a guy that believes that women can't do anything,
No.
including being a supervillain.
Of course.
But there are, I think fans would rebel if you made the Joker a woman. Because through every ounce of the Batman story, going back to 1940 something or whatever, 50s, when he came out, the Joker was a guy, and you see all the time. I mean, look at the when something as simple as Johnny Storm was black and Sue Storm was white.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the
Exactly.
whole universe exploded, right? So making the Joker a female, not buying it as a
I
decision
think
the producers are going to make.
I think it would be very difficult to.
She better be good if that's the case.
I think it would be very difficult to like.
She'd be good. The girl that's playing her, she'd be good.
But
I think so, too.
how do you like say, okay, this is the Joker and not Harley Quinn? You know what I mean? I think that it would be very difficult.
Again, they're playing by
to-
whatever rules they want. Harley
Yeah.
Quinn doesn't have to be a girl then in that case. You know,
Well,
it's just, it gets...
Are we gonna change
I've
everybody's gender?
gone through
That's
the
the
whole
thing.
thing in my
Yeah.
mind,
Is
and
Bruce not
completely
a guy?
from day number one, I assumed that this Barbara was Barbara Gordon. And until you guys just said a minute ago, maybe not in this universe. Maybe it's not. That's not the Barbara he marries.
I think that if Jim marries Barbara, they have to go to some serious counseling because that is not a healthy relationship.
How does she come back from all and just go to a normal life and marry
Or
him? How's it
on the
possible?
opposite
Right.
side, do you think
But
what,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
what Jim's going through now, he killed Galavan, do you think he might go a little crazy and end up, and they could both be crazy together?
That's interesting.
Possibility?
My thought on that is, I like Jim's dark side. I think they're setting it up that he is kind of like the pillar of morality. Clearly not this season, because he's starting to cross the line.
He's
And I-
crossing the line to save people.
Yeah,
And
it's a good
it's
line.
not-
Here's the thing.
This is
Let me
the
finish this
second
thought.
time he's crossed the line.
Let me finish this thought.
Okay.
So I think that's showing that he's in, for all intents and purposes, the first Batman here. He is the good guy around town. Can't be swayed until recent events. I think they're setting that up to show that Bruce won't be swayed when down the road, if we get to that point.
Maybe, but they didn't he's been swayable from the beginning. in
True,
this,
but he's
right?
showed pretty good resolve.
He's friends with the Penguin. He kills the guy early on. Was that Penguin that set him up to do that?
He
You got to get the
said
money back from
Penguin
the
to
guy.
do it.
In the second
But
season,
he
yeah.
didn't start off to kill the guy. He started off to get the money from the guy, and the guy basically gave him no choice but to shoot him dead.
Well, I guess my point is that
So it's a choice.
this isn't a brand new choice. This isn't a brand new at the end of the
Right.
season 1.5 finale that he makes a decision to step to the dark side. He's been dark from the very beginning. He's been making bad decisions like that from the very beginning. He's not the character that's the moral pillar and hasn't been since Gotham started as a show.
Okay, I like that approach, and you're right to a point, but there's maybe some gray area there. And I think that's
I
why
think
Jim
he-
Gordon is Jim Gordon.
I think
Maybe.
he's very gray.
Yeah.
You know, I think he wants to be good, but I mean, isn't
can't
that
sometimes.
isn't that just how we can describe ourselves as humans? You know.
Gosh, where are you going?
I'm not going any deeper with this
You know, no, you know what I
conversation.
mean? Like, you always want to be the best person that you can be, and you always want to see good prevail. However, there are choices in people's lives when sometimes you maybe do sway to the darkness a little bit. Just an example, like Jim, when he was fighting that cannibal killer guy who was coming to kill him, he put his gun in his mouth. He was going to kill him, but then he decided, no, I'm going to take the high road.
Right.
And what happened because he took the
An
high
innocent
road?
cop.
An innocent cop died because of that,
Right.
which caused him,
Right.
I believe, to think
That was a turning
if
point.
I would have
He
shot
blamed
him,
himself for sure.
I could have saved. I could have killed a dirty guy to save an innocent woman.
And that was the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
The remorse.
And I got to be honest with you, I've been a Batman fan for a long time. I've never really given a thought to Commissioner Gordon, Jim Gordon, whoever, as being this sort of pillar of morality or anything
Me
like
neither.
that. It was this show that set it up for me in my mind that he was this guy that was beyond reproach, and that is not true. You know,
Right.
from the very beginning, he's not been true. What did you think about the symbolism at the end with Bruce in the robes, essentially being crucified? You know, like,
Interesting.
did it go too far?
I don't think so.
think so.
I mean, for what it's worth, take it for what it's worth. I'm Christian, so I don't think it was offensive for getting nitpicky. I just think it was the symbolism was.
He's the son of Gotham, right?
That's the thing,
That's the
right?
episode.
So
He's the White Knight,
Yeah.
or the Dark Knight, really. But I mean, it's kind of interesting to think about. It's symbolic of.
showing that maybe he's not the corruptible one.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
to make those.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. I did notice that. It was hard not to notice, but
No, it wasn't subtle.
no, it was in your face.
It wasn't subtle.
Absolutely.
It was, you know,
I want to know what his escape plan was.
I don't think he had an escape plan. I think he was
Batman
just
always has an escape plan.
He's like, I had that. I didn't need your help. Was all that was. That was.
I'm gonna be Batman.
Bruce has kind of been weak season 1 and most of season 2, but these last few episodes where he tricked Silver,
I
and he
knew.
was showing
That was badass.
that he was
Come on,
showing
that was awesome.
he wasn't going to be taken advantage of. That was perfect.
It shows that he's
Team
growing
Bruce.
up. Yeah, it shows that
Well,
He's
he's growing
not
up.
so much a little boy. He's starting to turn a
Exactly.
corner.
For me, he's the weakest part of the show. I am not buying for 1 second ever that kid is turning into Batman.
Not even these last 4 or 5 episodes.
Nope.
The last,
I do.
the one
Yeah.
where he tricked
Nope.
Silver, I think.
But I still loved how he kissed her.
And even in the
To save her. That's such a Batman
It
thing,
is,
right?
yeah.
That's
those two
it's crazy.
scenes were good.
But I'm just not buying that the character
He's
that
pretty
kid is
good.
playing, and I'm sorry I don't know his name.
David
but-
Mazouz.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just not buying that kid is capable of turning into Batman.
Who was on The Office
know.
once, by the way.
Like the Selena,
Selena.
She was born to be Catwoman,
Yeah.
right?
she's unbelievable.
Like Jerome.
Right. She is absolutely unbelievable as an actress, and every time she's on
And-
screen, I buy it.
She's a good friend because Bruce was mean to her the whole time, and then she went on Team Bruce and tricked Silver.
Mhm.
So she's always loyal, which is awesome.
She's not the person you would think who would do that, too.
Exactly.
You would just say, well, forget you.
But the Catwoman and Batman have a interesting relationship through the entirety of the Batverse. You know,
Mhm.
like it's from the very beginning they've had this kind of relationship. That's
Can we talk about Alfred for a second?
And
Yeah.
how he was
Yeah.
in the garbage dump. the
And
whole
how
entire
I
episode.
love Alfred. Like when
He's
it
perfect.
first started, I was like, I hate him. He's horrible. He's the worst Alfred ever. And like
Me
now
too.
I'm like, he's the best guy on Gotham.
You can go back and read my review of episode 1. I did not like Alfred. I was like, this guy sucks. He's cold. I would not feel comfortable if I was Bruce with him, and sure enough, I freaking love him now.
well,
it's totally different.
It's interesting if you are a fan of the whole Batman movie thing. The Adam West Batman there's an evolution in Alfred too, even though we're kind of going backwards in time.
Mhm.
You know, Michael Caine was a way different Alfred than the guy who was in the first handful of movies. You know, like
Sure.
he was a little bit rougher around the edges. He was because that's Michael Caine. You know, he's
Yeah.
got that Cockney accent, and so a different Alfred all the way around. I like the guy. I didn't particularly love the episode where he slapped Selena. I
Mhm.
thought that was on the part of the producers that might have been taking it just a tiny bit too far. There was uproar on the internet about oh, Alfred slapping kids, so it was and I almost kind of agree with that. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, who's letting their kid watch this anyway? Because the gore is
First two
yeah.
episodes where
Right.
Jerome takes over the entire bus of cheerleaders and wants to light it on fire.
I'm
8
not.
o'clock time's
Just
fun.
a little
It
intense.
shouldn't be on at 8 o'clock. This should be a 10 o'clock show. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
There's no doubt
It's
it's intense. I don't know. I didn't have. I mean, I'm not saying you should go around slapping kids. My look at it was, my perspective was this: his one mission in life is take care of Bruce.
Yeah.
She is seemingly, perceptively to him, causing him harm, and on a destructive level, maybe pushing him to do things that he shouldn't be doing, I'm okay with it if it's not a recurring thing. I understand the uproar, but I didn't really think twice about it.
Well, the weird part about it to me is I thought it was a bit gratuitous because he didn't even really like the guy. Like, he slapped her because she killed his old buddy, who he didn't really like all that much anyway.
Who stabbed him,
right?
Nonetheless,
He knew who that guy was. He knew that guy was a scumbag.
Yeah.
So
maybe the reasoning isn't good enough.
It was out of place to me.
I think
So-
he
I can
just
get
had a lot
behind
of
that.
anger where he was just looking for an outlet, and he was like,
Which doesn't make it okay
It
necessarily.
doesn't make it okay, obviously.
Right.
But if you kind of look at it from that's why it was kind of out of place.
Yeah.
Is because he just was. I think he's just angry at a lot of things. He's like Bruce investigating his father's things. He's trying to support him, but he doesn't want to support him because he wants him to stay, as young and innocent and like clean as he can. And I think that's just like a lot of frustration building up in Alfred. And it, like it's not like it was appropriate, but if you look at it from that standpoint, it was just a man being angry, and she did something to somebody he knew. So
Yeah, another Alfred moment when he destroyed the computers. Are you on that side?
I don't know. It was a little bit indifferent on that, I guess. I think Bruce lets his emotions get a hold of him sometimes, and naturally, my goodness, he's gone through a very, very traumatic time
I'm
in his
only on the
life.
side of it because of Lucius, because I felt like it was a very good introduction.
Well, they're setting Thomas Wayne up to be not a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Through this whole
True.
thing, that he's not a good guy,
Which
and you
makes me
wonder
uncomfortable a little bit.
a little bit, and you're wondering whether, or I was anyway, wondering whether Alfred knows what's on those computers, and he's trying to keep Bruce on the side of his dad's a good guy.
If that's the case, I'm all in on that.
Right.
I don't know
Keeping
if
the perception up is all that matters,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know if Alfred necessarily knows what is on the
He
computer.
would
Maybe
know.
he has some. But the thing is, if he knew, wouldn't he know how to get? Like, he wouldn't need to blow up the door. He could have put in the code.
How would they not try Bruce?
I don't know.
How would you not try that ever? That's interesting.
Like, if anything, I think Alfred. I don't know if Alfred knows. I think working for the Waynes, he probably
I think
through
he
the
knew.
grapevine
Observed.
knows, but I don't think he was ever really told.
He's,
Judging on Pete's reaction, I think we're on the same page. I think Alfred knows just about everything Mr. and Mrs. Wayne did and
I
went
agree.
through. And you can play dumb and say, "Oh, I didn't know there's a trap door here,"
Right.
Or a door to a secret library.
and how did you not try Bruce?
Yeah.
Well, he knew what was in there.
Oh, so
he
Alf.
didn't. Right.
He doesn't want to get in there,
But
maybe.
He
Bruce
doesn't want
didn't
Bruce.
try his
Right.
name.
Well, it's that's silly. But he didn't, I don't think Alfred wanted Bruce to get in there.
That's smart. That's
So-
a good point.
But he played along, and when it came to the point where Bruce was like, "I'm going to blow up the door," Alfred, kicking into his role as "I have to protect you," said, "I'll help you build the bomb so you don't blow yourself up," kind of thing.
That's
So
good.
Yeah. I love his combat skills too. I think that's kind of a nice part. Obviously, the military history there. And then he was great last episode in the fight with Tabitha. I remembered this time.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was pretty solid, rummaging around and
she had a great shot.
yeah.
That knife taking him in the back and he falling right into the garbage thing. I thought that was going to be a cliffhanger. I thought that at the end of the
You wouldn't
thing,
know what happened.
we're going to wonder. But what I was surprised at is I kind of thought that the death of Theo was the death of the Rise of the Villain story arc.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they said, we'll be back in whatever day, it's still called Batman or Gotham Rise of the Villains.
Yeah.
So there must be more of that. They made some good changes in the storyline over the course of last year was a lot of the bad guy of the week,
Totally.
right?
Which is natural for a first season.
And they serialized it
Mm-hmm.
now, so that we have a story arc that went from beginning to end. And there's good things and bad things to say about that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did exactly the same thing. First season was the bad guy of the week,
Mm-hmm.
and then this season they did an actual story arc that went beginning to end. It's not even over yet. Where I feel like the big storyline is kind of over in Gotham. The Theo taking over the city thing is over. That. We can still have villains rising. For a while there, I was just like, oh my God, there's so many villains all over the place. How is this sustainable? even from a payroll point of view, how is this sustainable? And
It just shows how corrupted Gotham is.
Right.
It's not like you have one person terrorizing the city. This city is so horrible that everywhere you look, there's
it
somebody.
needs Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Jim Gordon's not good enough.
Right.
So what does everybody like better, season 1 or season 2 so
Season
far?
2.
Season 2.
2.
I loved season 1. Like every episode, I thought was better and better and better, and I feel that it just keeps getting
No
better.
monsters this season.
Yes, that's a huge thing, and I think so. There was originally supposed to be 16 episodes in season 1, and they got extended all the way up to 22, I believe.
Right.
And Valona and I were talking about this a little bit earlier before filming, and I think there was a lull probably right after that 16th episode. Jerome is introduced in the 16th episode, which is meant to be the cliffhanger.
Right.
We don't see him the rest of season 1.
Right.
Makes sense on paper. What was bad about it, I hated the Fish Mooney storyline where she was in captivity with Dulmacher.
Yeah.
They just needed to fill the time.
That really killed a little momentum for me. It kind of got back towards a good arc in maybe the one to two final episodes. I didn't love the ogre either. I thought that was kind of. I mean, it was stretched out. He's a villain that's going two to three episodes, and you're choosing the ogre.
I think, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like you want a villain like the Joker to go numerous episodes, not the ogre.
Right.
But I did not like those storylines.
There was some hokey villains in the first season. It didn't find its way.
No.
It didn't really find its way.
They knew they were close to the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I think they've found it now. And having a full season arc has been phenomenal. And I think that will continue.
And the mark that they knew they were close to is being canceled too.
That's very true.
At the end
Desperation.
there was absolutely a really good chance there was no season 2.
Getting extended was huge.
Yep.
Getting season 2 was huge. I think this show is here to stay at this time. Shows are always on the chopping block. But I think it's built a little momentum in that point.
I'm kind of excited to see what comes next, because if you do look at season, I mean, I know we're still like halfway through season 2, but if you look at season 1, like, yeah, you were saying like the city is run by the mobsters. You have Fish Mooney, you have Falcone, and you have Maloney. So like with regards to that, it's like, okay, they have control, and it's just interesting to see how they control Gotham, and then how like the villains are just kind of playing, and they're letting them. Then with season 2, it's like, okay, you're looking at Theo and you're seeing how he's controlling the city now, or trying to control the city. So now that he's dead, or we think he's dead, or whatever, because Jim shot him, but do you know where Jim shot him?
No, that's a good point.
We think it's in the head.
He
think it's in the head.
He was in a body bag. So
correct.
I mean, in a laboratory.
From funeral perspectives, you have read stories where somebody wakes up in a morgue. So that's real life.
I just think
that's real life.
with a umbrella hanging out the
So
mouth.
maybe he doesn't have vocal cords anymore. We can have a villain that doesn't talk.
It's more common than you think, man.
Theo.
Firefly and Galavan and Jerome are all being taken into this building, and we haven't really explored what goes on in this building.
No,
we assume.
Hugo Strange is who we touched on earlier. He's kind of a mad scientist of the Batman world, and he was in the Arkham games. And I think there's some reanimation projects going on there if they so choose to run out of ideas and come back to that.
Well, like let's look. Okay, so the Joker, we're assuming that he is dead.
Yep.
Firefly, we know she is not dead. Because if you remember,
she's in Anakin Skywalker shape.
If you remember when them wheeling her into this underground place, she has her eyes moving. They put her in, and I'm almost positive for like a couple of seconds they show the room from her viewpoint. Like I think you can see the bandages and like so she at least at this point is not dead. Theo, once again, we're assuming that he's dead. We know he was beaten pretty good. We know he was shot. Do we know where he was shot? And
he had an umbrella hanging out of his mouth.
Do we know how deep that umbrella was? It could have been a little one.
Again, this goes back to there's no rules. There's no rules. I mean, it's all up in the air. But we talk about this a lot clearly, and you can follow us on Twitter at the _Geekiverse. What do you guys think happens with Lee?
I think
Now
that they
she's
just.
pregnant.
I,
Dun,
Is
dun.
she? Is she pregnant?
well, she's pregnant in real life,
Oh.
so I think that
She
they were
is.
looking for an excuse to let her maybe
Oh,
have
I
her
didn't know
pregnancy.
that.
Her and who's Jim?
Ben McKenzie.
Ben McKenzie. They are a couple in real life,
Don't
and
you
they
read
are pregnant.
tabloids? It was a horrible
No, I missed that.
They,
yeah, so like she.
Pete and I usually stick to the actual show, but I just so happened to come across that. So I don't think she's pregnant.
Oh, I don't think she's pregnant either. I think she was just telling Jim anything and everything to get him to come with her. But I think that they did that in the show, so if they want to excuse Lee for a bit, they can for her real life pregnancy.
So Jim proposes to her.
Oh yeah, that was a cliffhanger.
There's a little bit of cliffhanger there.
And it's so funny because the proposal is one of those things that is like so. Like I completely forgot about it because there's just so many other things that are
That
happening.
scene itself was just so misplaced to me. It seemed like a dream sequence. I don't know, where they were just sitting in a random
that's a good
area,
idea.
and it was just off color to me. It
Yeah.
didn't seem.
It seemed peaceful.
real.
I initially pictured it as before Jim got there, that it was almost like a train station, and Lee was like, "I've had enough of this. I'm out of here." And Jim, you can come with me or you can stay, but I'm done with Gotham. I don't know if she's pregnant or not. As soon as she said it, I was like, I turned to Lauren. I'm like, no. Like in real life, she is. Her actress is, but I'm like, no. I think she's just pulling the card here.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's that could
It
be a way to get her to
never
go.
occurred to me that she wasn't, but I.
My first reaction was that she wasn't because it was a heat of the
didn't
moment.
occur to me that she wasn't. And makes it all the worse if Barbara comes back and reclaims the throne, so to speak, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So,
That would be interesting.
but I'm still not seeing any way in the world that can happen.
True.
Speaking of people not coming back, it's weird to me that nobody really knows that Kris Kringle is gone. Like Lee kind of brought it up a little
Or
bit
her ex-abuser cop.
yeah. No one.
They ran off together, guys. Didn't you listen to the conversation?
Right. But no one else is questioning it. There's no investigation.
Do they have family?
nothing.
Like you think, like you know, does she
Exactly.
have parents?
Apparently,
Well,
everyone
then-
comes into Gotham from some other place, unattached from family, and decides to
That's-
stay.
That's a plot hole right there. Though. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people were asking
concerned.
about either one of them.
Mhm.
I think we see that evolution. Someone's going to catch this at some point, and Ed is not going to be able to work for the police anymore.
The guy that's playing Nick was fantastic.
He's
Oh
He
my
is
god.
unreal.
His
And
evolution
now that
is nuts.
now that we're getting those little riddles coming in, it's just
Well,
Yeah,
Lucius,
I know where you're
Just
going.
knew it.
Home was
Wow.
home. Your home. I was like,
He
I love
meets his
Lucius.
match in Lucius Fox, right?
Uh-huh.
And his reaction is absolutely priceless. No, yes. Who's this? Unreal.
that's the one thing that I'd like to see more of. And maybe I'm rushing things, but I love the guy that's playing Lucius Fox, and B, I love the character, and I wanna, like I'm ready to want to see more gadgets, and I don't know who would use them because Bruce isn't Batman yet, but
Maybe
like,
Jim.
I want to see more of that. You know what I mean? I
Me
want to
too.
see more of the actor. I want to see more of the character. I want to see how they ended up with a relationship that I don't know. It's
I agree.
he comes in at the end of each season.
He does.
Right, like
he does.
he was in the last episode or two of season one,
Yeah.
and now he's in the last 2 or 3 episodes of season 1.5.
Yes.
I want to see more of him.
I agree. I love his actor. I think they had another like spot on casting, and I think we'd be a little upset if we didn't talk anything about Penguin. He has been my favorite character on the show, my Jerome notwithstanding, since day one. I think, and I knew that going into it. Oswald Cobblepot, as he evolves here, I love his mannerisms. I love the way he talks. His walk, obviously,
His sass.
the sass is a great way, and I love just about more than anything right now that him and Riddler are kind of like staying together.
They're like
And
in a
like
relationship.
an old married couple. Like he's calling about the spicy mustard, and they don't say it's Penguin, but you know it's Penguin on the other line.
Oh, right.
And Lee's like, who is that? And that's so funny. Oh my gosh, that relationship as that evolves over hopefully the second half of season 2. Oh my goodness, sign me
there
up.
isn't much of a sense of humor to the show either, so it's nice to see those little moments because you have we talked about it before. You have the sort of the juxtaposition of the visual,
Mhm.
which is spectacular and weird. You know, like the weird costumes from the asylum and stuff like that. And then you have the extreme violence, and now they're adding little bits of humor. I like the relationship that's developed between Harvey and Jim. You know,
Oh, yeah.
they have a little bit of
I love Harvey.
a
I'm glad he
zinger
came
here
back.
and there. You know.
I was very nervous because ever since they did kill the Joker, or who we think is the Joker, you just don't know what's going to happen. So when they were down in the sewers, and when they had that one monk, and like for some reason, I thought Harvey's going to get it here.
He feels expendable, sadly.
And
I
that's so
love him as a
upsetting
supporting
to me
character.
because I love him so much. Like, yeah, he's not a lead character, and he's not somebody that I need in every single episode, but I love when they throw him in there just because he is, like, the sass master, you know? And, like, I love
him sticking his neck out for Jim, even though he doesn't really believe a lot of what Jim believes, and he's just kind of like, I want to just get through the day and get home, and like running up the steps and
I'll be there in a
I'll be there in a
minute.
minute.
I'm kind of glad that Fish Mooney is gone.
Me too.
Because it allows him to grow as a character towards good instead of still being the super bad guy, kind of, you know, the dirty cop underneath her thumb. I think her being out of the picture is allowing him to be a better character.
And I wasn't sold that she was dead, by the way, at the end of season 1. I know Jada Pinkett Smith said she didn't want to sign up for a season 2. She said, I had a 1-year contract, I'm going to end it there. But they left it a little open, you know, she pushed it off the edge into the...
They always
have
leave
to,
it open,
right?
you know?
They can keep her off though.
I'm
I
fine
thought
with
she
it.
was awesome, but I thought, like, once again, like Theo Gallivan, I thought, like, her character was great when she was there, but then I was ready for her to be done.
Theo was like the next step, I think.
Yeah.
Her story arc wasn't good.
No.
I mean, that was my problem.
I thought it was fine until...
She's a great actress, and she played a great character. But the story arc that they gave her, I didn't think was all that particularly good.
I thought it was good until they extended season 1 after
Yeah.
that episode 16 with the whole losing her eye thing, and I was just like, this is kind of, I don't know, it really like
It didn't
lost
have any
me for a
place.
bit.
It didn't have any
Dull
place.
was dull.
Yeah.
Yes.
Walker was awful. Just, yeah, I agree. I liked that she was trying to take over as a mob boss and then got caught. I loved that. Butch was interesting, kind of
I
side
love
character.
Butch. She was like her little pet.
I don't really care about Butch so much in that sense, but I mean, there's a lot of characters that I don't want to see go.
I loved Butch because I felt like through it, like he is the definition of loyalty. Like he would do anything for Fish until, you know, Zaz like messed with his mind and he
Hasn't been around in a
couldn't.
while. Yeah.
I know, and that's another character who I like love.
He
Oh my
just
gosh.
randomly pops up. It's awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. But like Butch, he was like, I like that in a
Yeah.
city where everybody's corruptible and everybody's looking out for themselves. Like he always came back to Fish, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know,
Despite
even,
the corruption, at least you know where you stand, I guess, for what it's worth.
I mean, he killed his childhood best friend for Fish.
Yeah.
You know, he tried to get him to, what is that, season 1? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, he was one that was always, like, for her, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zaz and his ringtone.
That was priceless. If you watch the episode where Zaz captures Barbara, I don't remember what song it was, but it's I think it's like an 80s pop song. It'll come to me later, but it's hilarious that this awful cold-blooded murder,
They do.
shaved, he's got no hair on his body. He's
They,
just this,
they throw in those little
those
funny
little bits of
moments,
humor,
you know.
Yeah.
or
it's
when
clever.
Gotham show, they do it without being cheesy.
Yep.
But definitely want to plug some social media. You can visit the Geekiverse on Facebook.com/the Geekiverse. Actually, no, just /Geekiverse. Instagram and Twitter, we are at _Geekiverse. We have our YouTube channel up as well.
You should
Social
post
media for
your Halloween costume to show everybody what a great penguin you were.
I was a great penguin. I was Oswald Cobblepot from Gotham 2 years ago, and it was solid. I had a show that night. I played a band, so it was pretty legit. But you never
Oswald
seen?
Cobblepot actually favorited that tweet.
Yes. Robin Lord Taylor favorited the picture of me, so you know we're best friends pretty much. Robin, when you see this, you coming on the show, man? That'd be great.
You have a spot for you right now.
Right there, buddy. We can do our best penguin impersonations, you know, together. It'll be great. But yeah, so you got to see Oswald Cobblepot drum to turn down for what? Anyway, social media. Where can we find you on Twitter, Lauren? At Little Miss Funeral.
But it's not Little Miss Funeral. It's like, it's spelled weird. Don't follow me. It's okay.
Adam's going to put it right here on the screen.
Google Little Miss Funeral and then, you'll see.
Valona also has a fantastic Twitter handle.
Russian roulette.
It's
Oh, that's
awesome. We have
fun.
Little Miss Funeral and Russian Roulette. Some badass
Things
chicks.
happen.
And Pete and I are kind of simple.
Yeah, mine's
Pete-
super boring. Pete her.
I'm at Josiah D. Leroy. That's JOSIAH. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up on Gotham to this point in time? Any hopes or predictions for the comeback in February?
I can't wait to see Mr. Freeze. That's all I gotta say.
Mr. Freeze, Hugo Strange, someone else was teased. It'll hit me later. Unfortunately, that's not going to help you, so I'll tweet about it. Malona, anything else you're looking forward to?
I just want the Joker army to come back.
Yes. I feel like
Just the army.
I feel like that might come down the road. Maybe season 3.
They're starting to march. They're coming to Gotham.
And they're all
Yeah.
just laughing together. It'll be great.
Exactly.
I'm dying to find out what happened to Stabby Babs.
Me too. Well, I hope Gotham goes on for many seasons to come. I think it's got that potential, and if they stay on course, it's going to be awesome. But that's all we have for Gotham for this week.